Good morning, Cortland Dragons. I'm Nova Lee.
Y soy Brian.
And this is Cortland News for Wednesday, October 12th, 2022.
Primero vamos a hablar sobre las opciones del almuerzo.
Here's what we have on our lunch menu today. For hot, we have a cheeseburger, and for deli, we have a chicken ham and cheese sandwich.
Otra vez será una hamburguesa con queso para caliente y un sándwich de pollo, jamón y queso para deli.
Looking ahead to lunch the next day, here's the menu. For hot, we have French toast sticks, and for deli, we have a muffin snack pack.
El próximo almuerzo tendremos los palitos de tostados para caliente y un paquete de bocadillos de muffins para deli.
We have a few blue ribbons to read this morning.
Miss Callan's kindergarten class for awesome behavior during inside recess from Mrs. Woods.
Miss Timerman's class being super quiet in line for PE. You could hear a pin drop. Way to go! From Miss Duffy.
Mrs. Stringer's class walking out of school quietly and with their hands to themselves from Mrs. Stringer's class.
Miss Hayseker's first grade class, excellent behavior during indoor recess and lining up after lunch from Miss Rulsama.
Mrs. Hayseker's first grade class for excellent behavior while your teacher was gone from Mrs. Parker.
Mrs. Myers kindergarten for walking in a silent straight line. Great job, from Mrs. Timerman.
Great job. Oh.
Our special teachers would like to reward classes for their incredible behavior.
Y ahora los resultados de los premios de especialistas.
First, Miss Coulter from Music Awards, Miss Hayseker's first graders for demonstrating safe, respectful, and responsible behavior when playing classroom instruments.
The other music award goes to Mrs. Stringer's class, third grade class for also demonstrating safe, respectful, and responsible behavior with classroom instruments.
For PE, our teachers chose Mrs. Timerman's second grade for being very disciplined.
And the PE teachers also picked Mrs. Steer's fourth grade for being a model class.
Mrs. Borden from Art would like to recognize Mrs. Myers Kinders. They listen and follow directions and use an appropriate voice level in the classroom.
Mrs. Borden also chose Mrs. Steer's fourth grade class for listening to and following directions, working together to create a great learning environment. They are very respectful.
Finally, the library award for Mrs. Fagan goes to Mrs. Hayseker's first graders for always being respectful of the library books and others. They are quiet and kind while in the library.
The other library award goes to Mrs. Jackson's fifth grade for continuously showing respect for the rules of library and school. They are excellent listeners, show respect for each other, and are quiet and kind.
Keep being respectful, responsible, reflected, and safe. That's all the announcements for today, Cortland. Dragons, I'm Novalee.
Y soy Brian. Gracias por ver las noticias de Cortland. Que tengas un buen miércoles.
Please stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance.